Good morning, Sales Academy followers. It's Adam Brooks, Sales Academy. So something that really jumped out to me this week in a podcast that I was listening to, and it made me reflect across the week, and in a week where we've had some loss within the Sales Academy family, it just got me to really consider this point. And I want to share the point with you, which is we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm going to say it again and let it sink in. We need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So what in what sort of context, in what sort of situation and stuff? And it's like all of them. When my dad died in 2018, 3 years ago now, literally last month, we knew it was coming. Okay, so his prognosis was terminal. We knew it was coming. It was a case of how long. So it doesn't make the loss any easier, but it did mean the process was easier to come to terms with, because there was time to come to terms with it. That's how I felt. Now, I've never lost a parent suddenly, so I don't have a comparison. But having that time meant that we were able to do things. And in that time, things were uncomfortable. Like when we had to make choices on Dad's treatment, like when we had to make choices on stopping Dad's treatment, like when we had to make choices on his quality of life and stuff. So all of those things are uncomfortable. But then I come back into relationships. You know, you don't pick somebody or choose somebody or be with somebody where you completely 100% agree on everything. There's always difference of opinions and values and identities and thoughts and upbringings and feelings. But those conversations where you differ, together with the conversations where you agree and stuff, there's challenge in some of those. There's uncomfortableness in some of those, because sometimes those conversations can really challenge who you are and what you think and what you feel about yourself, let alone the other person. So relationships, business, making decisions in business that not all of the business decisions you make in business work out. So that's something to be mindful of straight away. But also this whole kind of concept of sales, negotiation, videos, talking on video cameras, Zooms, Teams, and all this sort of stuff that we've had to do. But also when you have to go into a meeting where you may have let down a customer, have a conversation with a client where you may not have necessarily delivered to the level that you wanted to. Have a conversation with the client whose expectations are way higher, or sometimes deluded in terms of what the expectations are versus what the reality is and stuff. All of these kind of situations can get uncomfortable. Sometimes this is just by the fact that your comfort zone isn't stretched enough yet. It could be the fact that you're not ready to take on the next stage, and that feeling of perturbation, that feeling of feeling uncomfortable, I don't know, it feels like we're getting encouraged to run away from that and avoid it because we don't want to have potential conflict or feel uncomfort or offend and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, we got to be really careful with this path that we're going down, because in uncomfortable states, I look through my life at 45 now and I go, that's where I grew the most. There are times that I didn't think I'd make it through, but I did. As did you. There are times when you didn't really think you would get through this. I remember going back to GCSEs. Consider this for a minute. Going back to your qualifications, right? When you were studying and swatting for your exams and stuff, whether that be GCSEs, where you went on to A levels, where you went on to university and stuff, there were times when you really didn't believe you had it in you to do this. There are times when you've had to make decisions in life. There are times when things have been thrust upon you and you haven't had the opportunity of time to reflect. You've had to choose, and you didn't know whether you were going to make a right choice. You didn't know whether you were going to make a good choice. You didn't know whether you could get through what you're getting through, but here you are. And that's where you got comfortable in the uncomfortable. You allowed yourself to grow. You challenged yourself, you sat in it, you felt it to the bloody edges. You learned new things, you asked new questions. And that's the thing, right? When we get confused is an awkward state. That's an uncomfortable state. But what comes after confusion, right? Yeah, clarity. What comes after confusion is better thoughts, better questions. better information, to ask better questions, to make better decisions, to get better results. And all of that stuff leads towards a better quality of life. But a lot of the time it starts with that feeling of uncomfortableness because we don't know what we don't know. And we don't know that we don't know it. So how do you know that you don't know something? And how do you know what you know is right? Right? Consider that. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we're capable of. How do you know that you don't know something? And how do you know what you know is right? Some of you might need to go and have a cup of tea and just chew over that. But these are the kind of questions that, when I read Confucius and the Anderlechts and stuff, they were always simple questions that led to really challenging and sometimes uncomfortable conversations because my habits and my disciplines weren't aligned to what I wanted. And I had to change those habits and disciplines, and I had to change who I was and what I was doing. Notice I said who I was first and what I was doing if I wanted different outcomes, different results. So a core responsibility, commitment, ownership, responsibility, COR. What are your commitments? What do you need to take ownership of so that you can be responsible for the results that you get? Get uncomfortable in the get comfortable in the uncomfortable. That's where the growth happens. Enjoy this, guys. Have a brilliant weekend. Adam Brooks, Sales Academy. Talk to you soon.